pounding and delivers on every level. Tom Cruise.
I need you to trust me. One last time.
Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. Now streaming on Paramount Plus.
We're partners barely a month. Look how well we're doing.
No, we're not partners. I already told you that.
Well, you're playing with the devil's money.
What do I do now?
It's gonna blow! Yours is a business that needs money to grow.
Being rich isn't my dream. It's yours.
Who's the gangster now? It's like I'm looking into a mirror.
Landman, new season, now streaming, only on Paramount Plus.
This is European soccer's biggest stage.
Written in the stars! What a difference she has made!
The question is, can you handle it?
Tell me, can you handle it?
The crowd here feels electric. Stream every match of the UEFA Women's Champions League on Paramount Plus.
You can't count on Derek's tong skills.
Oh, Tony, I think it hit the ground.
But you can always count on Sundays with the NFL on CBS and Paramount Plus.
In the first CFP quarterfinal of the day, it was all Oregon. The Ducks D pitching a shutout against Texas Tech in the Orange Bowl. Big play happened in the third quarter when Mateo Uiagalelei strip sacked Baron Morton, returned it inside the 10-yard line. Very next play, Jordan Davison punched it in to give Oregon a 13-0 lead. It was the first of 2 touchdowns for Davison in the game. Then with the Red Raiders driving in the fourth quarter, Oregon true freshman Brandon Finney Jr. picked off Morton in the end zone for his second INT of the day. He also recovered a fumble as Oregon wins the turnover battle 4-1 and blanks Texas Tech 23-0. Oregon's first shutout in a bowl game since New Year's Day of 1917 when Oregon was nicknamed the Webfoots. Quack, quack. Through the Orange Bowl, teams who had a bye in the first round went 0-6.
It's tough. I love this university, everything that it stands for. I've been a Red Raider since I was a little kid. So, to get to do this year has been awesome. A great group of guys. Man, it's just been so fun just to, put Texas Tech back on the map. And, Lubbock deserves every bit of everything that happened this year. And, we can hang our hat on something. Obviously not the outcome that we wanted, but, really proud of this team in the way that, we fought through adversity this year. And, I'm proud to be a Red Raider.
Now that this game is behind you, what do you think of not having a first-round bye this season?
I guess it works, right? I've been a proponent for games to be happening much quicker for a long time. I think that's best for college football. Again, I felt like this game, the Orange Bowl, first off, was unbelievable. I should have, really gave him kudos to the Orange Bowl because it's been a great experience, but it's not the same bowl experience anymore when you talk about playoffs, right? Our guys didn't leave the hotel. They had a mindset, that we can celebrate when this thing's all over with, and they were really focused. But the hospitality here was unbelievable. But we're trying to serve 2 different purposes here, and this is a playoff. Playoff, in my opinion, should have been played in Lubbock, Texas. I said that before. That's not because we wanted to go play in Lubbock. I certainly didn't. I'm glad we played here in Miami, and it was good prep for us. But, last year, very similar situation for us. I feel like that game should have been played in Eugene. And there's a lot of people that do playoffs. I feel like the playoffs have looked a certain way for a long time. We're trying to serve 2 purposes here. And the amount of time in between games, obviously, is tough for teams. We experienced it last year.
The layoff, the bye situation, certainly a conversation that will be had in the offseason with the committee. Well, for Oregon, it's their first shutout win in a bowl game since New Year's Day of 1917 when Oregon was nicknamed the Webfoots. Oregon beat the Quakers of Penn. Quack, quack. The Ducks advanced to the Peach Bowl on January 9th. Hello and welcome to a fresh hour of CBS Sports HQ presented by FanDuel. Play your game. Happy New Year's Day. Look at the cavalcade of stars alongside former Penn State tight end Adam Brenneman, former Ohio State running back Beanie Wells, and former Louisiana running back Emory Hunt. I am Hakeem Dermish, here to get you set for the final CFP quarterfinal, a rematch from the regular season. Georgia clashing with Ole Miss in the Sugar Bowl. Over the next hour, we're going to get you set for kickoff with coverage you won't get anywhere else, picks and analysis. Here's how we got here. No Lane, no problem, as Ole Miss dominated Tulane for the second time this season. This time a 41-10 win in the first round of the playoff under new head coach Pete Golding. It was the largest margin of victory in a CFP game since Georgia crushed TCU 65-7 in the 2022 National Championship. Ole Miss advancing to play Georgia in a rematch of the regular season. The Rebels' only loss this season was against the Dogs. Here's Golding on facing a familiar foe.
I would rather see other teams outside of our league once we get out of our league. But no, it's always a great challenge. I think, once you get in the playoffs, you got to beat the best team to get the last win anyway. And I told our guys from the very beginning, there's going to be one team that's happy at the end of this once you make the playoffs. That's it. That's where there's D2, 1 AA. Every playoff I've ever been in, there's one team that's happy at the end. And so we might as well play the best ones early. And to be in this venue and to have gotten our ass whooped by them earlier in the year, right, and kind of go through it and hopefully play better and give ourselves a better chance. But to be here in the Sugar Bowl and to play a premier program and play a premier coach, we're super excited for it.
Last time Georgia played a game was 26 days ago when the Dogs dominated Alabama 28-7 in the SEC Championship. In the first 2 years of the 12-team playoff, teams who had a first-round bye are 1-6. Leading up to this game, Dogs head coach Kirby Smart referenced teams who had a bye multiple times and had this to say about his approach to the long layoff.
Is what it is. Everybody tries to spin it as an advantage, whichever way they take it, and nobody really knows what the advantage is because you can lose a player, you can get somebody injured when you play those games. But we've taken a different approach to it this year. We're going to see how it goes. I don't think the outcome of the game defines the approach. I think it's simple as saying, well, it doesn't work if you don't play a game. Not necessarily true. How did you play in the game? What were the factors that contributed to winning and losing the game? And we'll see that tomorrow night.
Long layoff cannot be an excuse. For now, this is the format. You got to be ready to go on game day. Georgia and Ole Miss meeting for the second time this season. Dogs beat the Rebels 43-35 in mid-October. Georgia scored on all 8 of their drives, outscoring Ole Miss 17-0 in the fourth quarter. Winner of this game will play Miami in the Fiesta Bowl on January 8th. All right, back here with Emory Hunt, Beanie Wells, and Adam Brenneman. Last time we saw Georgia play a game was 26 days ago. And considering what happened to Ohio State last night, there's something here in play after a long playoff. Adam, how concerned are you about Georgia tonight?
Yeah, I'm concerned about Georgia because the issue becomes rust, but also having a crowded head and the noise that comes with that 26-day layoff as Georgia has here. Hasn't played a game since December 6th. And now, during that time, these are still kids we're talking about, and they are on a successful team. So you have kids thinking about transferring. You have coaches interviewing for other jobs. You have guys talking about NIL money, how much more money they can get. 3 weeks plus of doing that. That's the noise that gets into your head if you're Georgia. So it comes down to starting fast in this game, avoiding those distractions, and moving on from that layoff as fast as you can.
And Beanie has been through this before. You had a layoff of 51 days between games during the 2006 season, beat Michigan in the epic 1-2 game, then got crushed in the national championship game against Florida. Ted Ginn Jr. returned the opening kickoff, 93 yards for a touchdown. I was standing right there, and I was like, all right, they're going to win this game. However, during the celebration, Ginn injured his left ankle. Team accidentally stepped on his foot, forcing him out of the game. Florida went on to win 41-14. Beanie, I mean, 41-14, you guys were ready to go, but what do you remember about the lead up to that game and the preparation?
It was a hard task. I mean, we're coming off of winning the biggest game probably at that time in Ohio State history. It was the only 1-2 matchup that anybody had ever seen when you talk about Ohio State versus Michigan, and we won that game. And I think after that game, we were riding off into the sunset, worrying about our narrative, worrying about being labeled as one of the best college football teams ever, the only team that will have went out and beat 3 number 2 teams in the country. We beat Texas that year, which was number 2, Michigan number 2, and we're going to go on and dominate whoever in the national championship. But you got 51 days in between to prepare. So to get a lot of 17, 18, 19, 20-year-old kids to rest and focus for 51 days, it's not a good thing because you have all of the outside noise that you just mentioned, and we didn't have NIL, we didn't have coaches interviewing for jobs, but you got guys trying to figure out, okay, what do I mean to this program? How successful am I? How do you manage guys with egos? And then Troy Smith had won a Heisman. He went on this entire Heisman circuit, and then you expect him to come back and be focused the same way that he was. No, it's just not going to happen, especially when we're talking about teenage young kids in college. We all know what a bunch of 20-year-olds are going to do on weekends. You talk about 51 days, and you don't have a game in between that time period. Imagine the focus you'd have, especially if you're coming off one of the biggest wins of your career.
Emery, this has to be fixed. This format has to be fixed. The layoff is becoming a thing. It's a problem. Where all these, we're talking about 3 weeks of not playing football.
Right, and that's the problem. That's why it looks a lot like week 1 of the regular season when you have all these upsets from either a G5 program to a Power 4 or FCS program upsetting the Power 4 program, is because you catch them in week 1 or week 0 where you have all summer to prepare for that one opponent and everyone starts the season rough and kind of, sluggish. That's the same thing we see in the NFL when we go from the preseason to the regular season week 1. We kind of say that week 1, week 2 is the extension of the preseason. So, but I'm not too particularly worried about Georgia more so than anything because they have the run game, they have the defense, they have the commonality of the opponent. Now, what I am worried about because of the layoff is trying to figure out what Ole Miss is going to show them because now it's a new voice, it's a new play caller, it's a new scheme. You don't know what to expect. That part with the layoff, I believe will be more of an issue. But I'm not worried about them being able to run the football. They got 5 hippopotamuses up front to run the football, so I think that'll be something easy. They could get off the bus and get ready to go.
Yeah, those are facts. A much shorter layoff for Ole Miss. Last played 12 days ago when they dominated Tulane in the first round. We always talk about how tough it is to beat an opponent twice in the same season. Ole Miss did it, beating Tulane 2 times. Adam, what adjustments does Ole Miss need to make so they don't lose to Georgia for the second time this season?
Yeah, for Ole Miss, it's about stopping the run. Listen, if Ole Miss gives up 220 yards on the ground to Georgia like they did in that first game this season in October, they will lose the ball game. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. So it comes down to stopping that run game. And then for Ole Miss, how does Trinidad Chambliss make plays with his legs? When nothing's there, when Georgia has the perfect call on defense, Chambliss has to be able to create with his legs, make some unique, creative things happen. That's the Ole Miss path to victory.
Look, I mean, I think for Ole Miss, I think the biggest thing when we talk about them on the offensive end is, are they going to be able to create those explosive plays? And I think on field, obviously that's one of the ways that they're going to have to utilize their offense to be able to beat Georgia is downfield, stretching them vertically with the playmakers that they have. But I think it's more so due in part to what they're going to be able to do off of the field, and that's block out the noise. The noise of Lane Kiffin not being there, the noise of the naysayers. Will they have those blinders on, or will they have that tough skin like a rhinoceros there to be able to deal with all of the naysayers and all of the issues and distractions that we talk about these young kids have to deal with on a regular basis, but particularly at a program like Ole Miss where you were slated as one of the top-tier teams in college football and your big-time coach decides to vote for greener pastures.
Mm-hmm. Listen, and it was funny because you look at Trinidad Chambliss. I think you lean more on him if you're Ole Miss. Like, hey, man, you won a national championship. You've been in the mix before. He has experience in these type of high leverage moments. This is the first time Ole Miss has been in the postseason, but this is not the first time we've seen Trinidad Chambliss in a postseason ball game, let alone a championship game. So I like the fact that they come in with a guy that could go to and say, hey, how did you handle this at Ferris State? How did you go into that postseason matchup? And also, when you look at, hey, no one expects us to be here. No one expects us to win. So we can go out there and play free. I think that may be more of a freeing thing for Ole Miss because what they have had this season, more so than we've ever seen Ole Miss in the Lane Kiffin, they can run the ball. They're physical up front. And their defensive coordinator is now their head coach. So we know he's going to play close to the vest, and I think that's the way they can find a way to win this ball game.
It's going to be interesting to see how Pete Golding handles late game decisions, right? We know that Lane Kiffin, that's one of his calling cards. That's what he does well with timeouts and utilizing his players in certain spots. It's going to be interesting to see what Pete Golding does when a game gets tight because the game against Tulane, Adam, that was not a tight game.
Yeah, but I was impressed with how Pete Golding had his guys ready to play against Tulane, and they were organized in the midst of chaos.
Yeah.
Because Lane Kiffin left that program in chaos, right? And Golding got everyone calmed down. Hey, let's get this train back on the tracks. Everyone rowing the boat in the same direction, and Golding had his guys coming out ready to travel. And that's why I think Ole Miss is going to be ready to travel to New Orleans for this game. And really, in those late game decisions, as the defensive coordinator, you still are involved in some of those decisions with Lane Kiffin, with your head coach. And I'm sure Pete Golding had his fair share of conversations getting ready for the analytics for those late game. Are you kicking a field goal? Are you going for it on fourth down? And I expect him to be very aggressive in this one.
Well, Ole Miss looking to avenge that loss from mid-October. Despite the long layoff, Georgia comes in hot, riding a 9-game winning streak. When we return, we'll take you out to New Orleans. We've got a live report from the Superdome as we continue to get you ready for kickoff from the Sugar Bowl. This is CBS Sports HQ, presented by FanDuel.
This isn't just combat. It's cinema.
Are you not entertained?
The new home of UFC, Paramount Plus.
In the Champions League, every picture tells a story, and every great story
Would you believe this?
needs an audience.
It's a really special moment.
The UEFA Champions League. Every game live on Paramount Plus.
Montana throwing in the end zone. Oh, caught it. Intercepted. Polamalu takes it home. Denver's going to win it on the first play of overtime. For the win. He caught it.
For decades, CBS Sports has brought you iconic moments that define the NFL postseason. Count on us when the next great one unfolds. The NFL playoffs on CBS and streaming on Paramount Plus.
My name is Jeffrey Manchester. I robbed 45 McDonald's.
Good morning, team.
And I've been living in a toy store for 6 months.
Authorities everywhere are on the hunt for the roof man.
But that wasn't even the crazy part.
I would like to introduce you to someone. Would you go out with me?
I would very much like to go out on a date with you.
You're not good at being a criminal.
Whatever you do, you can right now.
Oops. What exactly is your plan?
So what's the plan? The biggest and wildest mission yet comes home.
I like the sound of that.
It's nerve-shredding, heart-pounding, and delivers on every level. Tom Cruise.
I need you to trust me. One last time.
Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. Now streaming on Paramount Plus.
We're partners, barely a month. Look how well we're doing. No, we're not partners. I already told you that. Oh, you're playing with the devil's money.
What do I do now?
He's gonna blow. Yours is a business that needs money to grow.
Being rich isn't my dream. It's yours.
Who's a gangster now? It's like I'm looking into a mirror.
Landman, new season, now streaming, only on Paramount Plus.
This is European soccer's biggest stage.
Written in the stars. What a difference she has made.
The question is, can you handle it?
Can you handle it?
The crowd here feels electric. Stream every match of the UEFA Women's Champions League on Paramount Plus.
You can't count on Derek's tongue skills.
Oh, Tony, I think it hit the ground.
But you can always count on Sundays with the NFL on CBS and Paramount Plus.
This isn't just combat. It's cinema. Every strike is a frame. Every rivalry, a story. This canvas is more than a stage.
Are you not entertained?
It's where stories live, where worlds collide, where legends are made. It's on the new home of UFC, Paramount Plus.
Back here on CBS Sports HQ, presented by FanDuel, the college football playoff continues. Oregon shut out Texas Tech 23-0 in the first quarterfinal of the day. Then Indiana dominated Alabama 38-3. So Oregon and Indiana will meet for the second time this season when they play in the Peach Bowl next week. Hoosiers beat the Ducks in October in Eugene next Friday, playing for a spot in the national championship. Final CFP quarterfinal is at the Sugar Bowl. Georgia against Ole Miss in a rematch of the regular season. Kickoff set for about 8 p.m. Eastern from New Orleans. And let's get right to the site. Welcome to CBS Sports college football insider Richard Johnson, who joins us from the Superdome. Richard, set the scene for us there in New Orleans. How would you describe the atmosphere?
Well, it's festive. I mean, it's New Year's Day. A lot of Ole Miss fans, obviously the trip for them is not too far. Traffic was pretty crazy getting in the stadium. A lot of powder blue shirts, but the Georgia fans filing in as well. And the place is filling up as we ramp up to game time.
People out there having a crawfish boil. That's what I'd be doing right there in New Orleans. I mean, that is some good eats right there. And we're about to get ourselves a good game. And you had yourself a good article on CBSSports.com. You wrote about how each team's approach to this game. And Richard, the Ole Miss staff is drawing on its NFL experience.
Yeah, there are a couple of different dynamics in this game and a couple of repeat scenarios. This game obviously played earlier in the season in Athens. And, I talked to quarterbacks coach Joe Judge on Ole Miss's staff about what it's like to play a team twice. He's somebody who has a lot of experience with that, given his time in the NFL. He actually told me that he used the word fun. He said it's fun when you get to play a team twice. And it poses just a different matchup discussion because when you play a team the first time, it's a lot about X's and O's. When you get to dig in a second time, it's a lot about personnel. It's a lot more about one-to-one matchups. And that's honestly how you game plan for a professional football game. So for him, it's a lot more of a company experience.
For George, it's the age-old debate, rest versus rush, 25 days between games. Richard, we saw this affect Ohio State. What have you learned about how Georgia is approaching the long layoff?
Well, again, I would say the long layoff did not affect the Indiana team. We just saw it dismantle Alabama. We got to understand, we got to put into context, two of those bye teams that have lost were double-digit underdogs last year because they weren't true 1-4 seeds. They were just got buys because of the previous 12-team format. Georgia's handling things a little bit differently. They've changed the schedule up, they've tweaked practice, and they've given their players more rest than they did last year. Honestly, last year, after the SEC title game win over Texas, they kind of rolled right into something of a training camp style practice. This time, they took a couple weekends off during the prep, and they did things a little bit lighter leading up, and then they began ramping up when they knew who their true opponent was going to be.
Richard Johnson here on HQ. Richard, we'll see you post-game. Enjoy the game.
Thanks.
Indiana enjoyed its game, 38-3. I mean, this was absolutely embarrassing for Alabama. Their largest bowl loss in school history. They get beat by 35 points. Ty Simpson got injured in this game. He was not good at all. Fernando Mendoza was awesome. 14 of 16, a first-round talent, perhaps a first-round pick. The first overall pick, 3 touchdowns. They got a couple of rushing touchdowns, 38-3. So Indiana advancing to play Oregon in a rematch from the regular season. It'll be Indiana and Oregon in the Peach Bowl next Friday. Coming up, we've got picks for the Sugar Bowl. Who's going to cover the spread? Who you got? That's coming up next here on CBS Sports HQ, presented by FanDuel.
This isn't just combat. It's cinema.
Ready or not, here I come. Let's go! Are you not entertained?
The new home of UFC, Paramount Plus.
In the Champions League, every picture tells a story, and every great story
Would you believe this?
needs an audience.
It's a really special moment.
The UEFA Champions League, every goal, every game, live on Paramount Plus.
Montana throwing in the end zone. Caught it. Intercepted. Polamalu takes it home. Denver's going to win it on the first play of overtime. For the win. He caught it.
For decades, CBS Sports has brought you iconic moments that define the NFL postseason. Count on us when the next great one unfolds. The NFL playoffs on CBS and streaming on Paramount Plus.
My name is Jeffrey Manchester. I robbed 45 McDonald's.
Good morning, team.
And I've been living in a toy store for 6 months.
Authorities everywhere are on the hunt for the roof man.
But that wasn't even the crazy part.
I would like to introduce you to someone. Would you go out with me?
I would very much like to go out on a date with you.
You're not good at being a criminal.
Whatever you do, you can quit right now.
Oops. What exactly is your plan?
So what's the plan? The biggest and wildest mission yet comes home. I like the sound of that.
It's nerve-shredding, heart-pounding, and delivers on every level. Tom Cruise.
I need you to trust me. One last time.
Mission Impossible: The Awakening. Now streaming on Paramount Plus.
We're partners barely a month. Look how well we're doing. No, we're not partners. I already told you that. Oh, you're playing with the devil's money.
What do I do now?
He's gonna blow! Yours is a business that needs money to grow.
Being rich isn't my dream. It's yours.
Who's a gangster now? It's like I'm looking into a mirror.
Landman, new season, now streaming, only on Paramount Plus.
This is European soccer's biggest stage.
Written in the stars! What a difference she has made!
The question is, can you handle it?
Can you handle it?
The crowd here feels electric. Stream every match of the UEFA Women's Champions League on Paramount Plus.
You can't count on Derek's tongue skills.
Oh, Tony, I think it hit the ground.
But you can always count on Sundays with the NFL on CBS and Paramount Plus.
The long layoff for Indiana only delayed the inevitable, a Hoosiers victory, as the Cream and Crimson beat the Crimson Tide 38-3. In the second quarter, Heisman Trophy winner Fernando Mendoza tossed a 21-yard touchdown to his roommate Charlie Becker to give Indiana a 10-0 lead, and they were just getting started as he throws 3 touchdowns, 2 incompletions. He had more touchdowns than he had incompletions, a couple of rushing touchdowns, one from Kalon Black and the other from Roman Hemby. And this was quick work of Alabama. Alabama starting quarterback Ty Simpson fumbled in the second quarter that led to an Indiana touchdown. Simpson ended up getting benched in the second half because of what the team said was an injury. It's Indiana's first bowl win since the 1991 Copper Bowl. Back here on CBS Sports HQ, presented by FanDuel. Back here with Emery Hunt, Beanie Wells, and Adam Brenneman. Okay, I mean, what did our guy Richard Johnson say a couple weeks ago? He said they're going to win by double digits. They won by 35, Emery. Your reaction is what to what you saw from Indiana, what they did to Alabama?
I never thought I'd see the day where Indiana has better backs collectively than Alabama. You talk about Roman Hemby and Kalon Black. Both of these guys almost touched 100 yards. Both were over 4.5 yards a carry. Hemby averaged 6 yards a carry. And the fact that they ran the football down Alabama's throat was crazy to see just from a who's Indiana, who's Alabama perspective, because I thought the point of attack was fairly equal, and they came in and dominated. And also, we all talked about all throughout this lead up was that Indiana doesn't beat themselves. One penalty they had in this ball game, ran 60 plays, and Alabama's passing game was efficient. The difference was the fact that Indiana did not miss tackles. They rallied up, made stops right where they caught the football, and got these guys off the field.
Man, this was an impressive performance by Indiana. And we keep saying it. You know, they're one of the most disciplined teams in the country, but they also play complementary football. They don't rely just on their quarterback play. I remember listening to an interview earlier in the year or earlier in the week and hearing Fernando Mendoza talk about, you know who I am? I'm a point guard of this football team. I distribute the ball around, and that's exactly how they play entirely. They play complementary football on both sides. They get after the pass rusher, and collectively, we watched this offensive line dominate the defensive front for Alabama. I mean, there were so many times where I'm saying, well, there's nobody open. But he still had so much time to figure out where he wanted to go with the football. And there was a lot of times where Fernando Mendoza was using his legs to extend drives and get first downs. Impressive performance in my book.
Yeah, I'm so impressed by Fernando Mendoza. He showed me why he won the Heisman Trophy. And his numbers might not be electric from a yard standpoint, but 14 of 16 passing, more touchdowns than incompletions. And how about the receivers he has on this roster? There's so much skill on this Indiana team. How about Cooper and Surratt and Charlie Becker at wide receiver that can make plays all over the field, make plays in the end zone, and make plays on third down and long. That was the impressive part. And then you think about Indiana's defense. They had Alabama in this game. Their average third down and go was 3rd and 10. So Alabama was constantly behind the sticks because the Indiana defense was so good on 1st and 2nd down.
When you look at Fernando Mendoza, 14 of 16, 3 touchdowns. More touchdowns than incompletions, as Adam noted. This is going to be perhaps a first overall pick or a top 5 pick. Emery, when you see what he's able to do out on the field as a leader and distributing the football, what stands out to you?
That he's doing his 111. You know, he's not trying to do too much or be the hero. He's okay, if you're open, I'm getting you the football. There's no favorite receiver. a favorite target. It's the open guy as a favorite target. And I like the fact that he's also playing above the X's and O's when he can't find anyone open. He's going to go take off and get the yards he could. And we saw Alabama underestimated his athleticism all throughout the game. And he's gotten hit in this ball game. He got the first drive, he got sacked twice out of 3 plays. And then we saw him bounce back and do an efficient job throughout the course of the game. I think people underestimate how good efficiency is and how efficiency can win you ball games.
Yeah, and I feel like we've been saying this every game Indiana wins, but let's not count out. I mean, what Kirk Cinetti has done at Indiana now in the quarterfinals to blow out the perennial powerhouse Alabama at a place like Indiana is borderline ridiculous what he's actually been able to do. It's been the greatest comeback that I can remember in college football. And now 25 wins at Indiana, signed the new contract, just a phenomenal job. And really, I think he's changed. Kirk Cinetti's changed how coaches should view taking over a school. There's no longer you get 4 years to turn it around. Kirk Cinetti's shown you can go to a place like Indiana and win right now, immediately, in your first couple years.
The scary thing with this football game is you have to start having major concerns if you're Alabama, the Alabama Crimson Tide. What are you going to do to be able to manufacture offense? Look, you're a top 10, a perennial a powerhouse in college football, but you can't figure out ways to get first downs. 3 first downs in this game, that's not supposed to happen. And then you're put too much on the quarterback and Ty Simpson to where you're kind of pigeonholing your offense. For so many years, Alabama, like you talked about, had 3 or 4 or 5 running backs all on the roster. They could consistently run the football. This is not Alabama football. For them to be able to be a team that have to sit back there and rely on the arm of a quarterback and they can't find anybody to create some rushing yards, this is an embarrassment performance. They do not want to go back to being an Alabama pre-2007. I can tell you that much, and that's the direction that they're trending in.
They had 23 rushing yards, total 193. They were held under 200 yards in this game.
That's just insane to think about. You talked about the backfields that they had, like 5 backs that will end up being first-round picks or second-round picks. But to Adam's point, what we saw Kirk Cignetti, or what we're seeing Kirk Cignetti do at Indiana is very much like what Bill Snyder did at Kansas State. Perennial doormat, got those guys to be a perennial power. And there's also what Gary Barnett did at Northwestern, perennial laughingstock, and turned them into a Rose Bowl champion, or got to the Rose Bowl in '95. So there is something that we're seeing. There's something that we're seeing from Cignetti, and we saw it at IUP, we saw it at Elon, we saw it at James Madison, and we're seeing it right now at Indiana.
You know, I always come back to when you're a head coach, your job's to get your quarterback to play well. That is your most important thing you have to do as a leader of your organization. And Ty Simpson just hasn't played well the last few weeks, the second half of the season. Even on the fumble Ty Simpson had when he was running the football.
Yep.
I mean, you got to teach your quarterback. You got to get down. You can't put the ball at risk. He's running straight up and down. We were talking about it. There's things like that Kalen DeBoer has to clean up in this Alabama program, or guys, it's going to get very hot in Tuscaloosa very fast.
That was the only turnover of the game, and it led to 7 points, and it was the first touchdown of the game for Indiana, and then they just steamrolled rest of way. And you talk about who matches Kurt Cignetti. Well, Kalen DeBoer, he matches Kalen DeBoer. You saw the full screen TV jargon, second FBS coach to win 25 games in his first 2 seasons in FBS history. Kalen DeBoer did it at Washington, and now it is Kalen DeBoer heading back to Tuscaloosa. Kurt Cignetti's going to head back to Bloomington and then get ready for the Peach Bowl. Look, when you look at Alabama and this sort of downfall for them, because they're going to sit here, the folks in Tuscaloosa, they're going to think the sky is falling.
No question
right?
about it.
I mean, but again, this is the second season, right, for Kalen DeBoer. You had this unrealistic expectation when Nick Saban leaves. Like, I remind guys like Damian Harris and A.J. McCarron. Like, I'm sitting there and I'm like, guys, what you went through wasn't normal. Right. Like, you had – that was historic. So, like, you can't expect that to carry on year after year after year. You have to realize there's going to be some lean times. And I know there was some lean times back in the day, right, but you can't expect just national championship after national championship.
Easier said than done. I mean, that standard has already been set. So the fan base there in Alabama, they want to go back to the national championship. They want to be in the conversation.
I don't blame them.
They don't want to be embarrassed like they were embarrassed today. So for that to be able to happen, they're going to have to take a long look in the mirror. And when I say they, I mean the coaching staff and the players that they're recruiting from here on out. Are we going to go out and get guys through the portal that are veteran guys that we maybe don't have to develop as much? We can pull from other universities, and we know right now that they're ready to go. Look, Alabama has the money. We're not talking about them being one of those programs that's not able to raise capital to go out and get these top-tier players. One, people are going to want to go where there's rich tradition, and then right now where they're going to get paid. That should be a place like Alabama. So for whatever they got to do, they have to get it done. We're watching Texas Tech right now come from a program that was essentially doormat to right now being in the college football playoff. Yes, they lost today, but they made leaps and strides. Now, I'm not saying Alabama has the same money as Texas Tech, but they got some dollars, and they better use those dollars to go get some quality players, or else Kalen DeBoer won't be there much longer.
I really think that we got to get out of this mindset in college football where every loss is a referendum on the coach in the sport. I mean, Alabama in the first round of the playoff went on the road and beat Oklahoma, had a pretty darn good season.
Down 17.
Lost in the SEC championship game. There's been a lot of wins. Kalen DeBoer is a winner. There are things that have to get cleaned up. Let's be very clear about that. There are mistakes, there's penalties, there's a lack of discipline that, quite frankly, did not happen under Nick Saban. That's happening under Kalen DeBoer. That needs to be fixed. But if you're Alabama, you can't even think about firing Kalen DeBoer right now. If you're a fan, calm down a little bit. Everything's okay. I know you're calling for his head over here. But listen, you can't risk causing more instability in your program right now. It's about rallying behind Kalen DeBoer.
I think what leads to fans to get crazy about Kalen DeBoer is that they just watched him do what he did at Washington. Yeah. It was like, man, we just saw this team be great with a first-round pick at quarterback, with all these talented wide receivers that they had at Washington under Kalen DeBoer. It's almost like you go to New Orleans and the first meal you taste, you're like, I thought this was supposed to be culinary capital of the world. Like, you got to give it time to maybe you went to the wrong spot, right? So I feel like Kalen DeBoer just needs a little bit more time. But because we saw him in the postseason with Washington and what he had there and how he turned that around after taking over for another legend, it became a problem, and that's why he's having the
Let it marinate.
Let it marinate.
Let it marinate a little bit.
We just talked about Kirk Cinetti. How quickly he did it at Indiana. We're talking about giving him time.
All he does is win. Google him. All he does is win. All he does is win. In Indiana, all they do is win against ranked opponents. This is their fourth win against a ranked team this season, most in school history. Look, everything that Indiana has accomplished or will accomplish will be either the first time in program history, the first time since way, way back. Everything is incredible for this team. Their first bowl win since 1991, 14 wins in a season for the first time in school history. Indiana on to the Peach Bowl to play Oregon. And still ahead, we look ahead to the Peach Bowl. A rematch from the regular season, a Big Ten battle, Indiana against Oregon, this time playing for a spot in the national championship. We'll break it down next on CBS Sports HQ.
This isn't just combat. It's cinema. The new home of UFC, Paramount Plus.
In the Champions League, every picture tells a story, and every great story
would you believe this?
needs an audience.
It's a really special moment.
The UEFA Champions League, every goal, every game, live on Paramount Plus.
Montana throwing in the end zone. Caught it. Intercepted. Polamalu takes it home. Denver's going to win it on the first play of overtime. For the win, he caught it!
For decades, CBS Sports has brought you iconic moments that define the NFL postseason. Count on us when the next great one unfolds. The NFL playoffs on CBS and streaming on Paramount Plus.
My name is Jeffrey Manchester. I robbed 45 McDonald's.
Good morning, team.
And I've been living in a toy store for 6 months.
Authorities everywhere are on the hunt for the roof man.
But that wasn't even the crazy part.
I would like to introduce you to someone. Would you go out with me?
I would very much like to go out on a date with you.
You're not good at being a criminal.
Whatever you do, you can quit right now.
Oops. What exactly is your plan?
So what's the plan? The biggest and wildest mission yet comes home. I like the sound of that. It's nerve-shredding, heart-pounding, and delivers on every level. Tom Cruise.
I need you to trust me. One last time.
Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. Now streaming on Paramount Plus.
We're partners barely a month. Look how well we're doing. No, we're not partners. I already told you that. Well, you're playing with the devil's money.
What do I do now?
He's gonna blow! This is a business that needs money to grow.
Being rich isn't my dream. It's yours.
Who's a gangster now? It's like I'm looking into a mirror.
Landman, new season, now streaming, only on Paramount Plus.
This is European soccer's biggest stage.
Written in the stars! What a difference she has made!
The question is, can you handle it?
Can you handle it?
The crowd here feels electric. Stream every match of the UEFA Women's Champions League on Paramount Plus.
Can't count on Derek's tongue skills.
Oh, Tony, I think it hit the ground.
But you can always count on Sundays with the NFL on CBS and Paramount Plus.
This isn't just combat. It's cinema. Every strike is a frame. Every rivalry, a story. This canvas is more than a stage.
Are you not entertained?
It's where stories live, where worlds collide, where legends are made. It's on the new home of UFC, Paramount Plus.
Back here on CBS Sports HQ, and we've got another rematch in the college football playoff. Oregon and Indiana will meet for the second time this season when they play in the Peach Bowl. The Hoosiers beat the Ducks in Eugene in October. Next Friday, playing for a spot in the national championship. Both schools chasing their first title in program history. Back here with Emory Hunt, Beanie Wells, Adam Brenneman. Oregon makes a statement, shutting out Texas Tech 23-0. We're going to get to the Peach Bowl matchup in a moment, but Adam, what a statement that Oregon made. What's your biggest takeaway from their win over the Red Raiders?
Yeah, I was really impressed with Dante Moore and how he played in that game. Took care of the football, was composed in the pocket. His offensive line did a great job giving him time to throw. And how about those receivers and the skill position players that Oregon has? Kenyon Sadiq at tight end played really well. So many playmakers on this Oregon team that when they play physical and run the football well, which they didn't do when they played Indiana earlier in the season, but they did against Texas Tech, Oregon can beat anyone in the country.
Yeah, I was really impressed with Oregon. But obviously, we know what their offense is. We know what Dante Moore does and all the playmakers that they have. But the defense shut out a football team, a college football playoff-worthy football team, and Texas Tech, who all they did all season long was go out and dominate their opponents by double digits. To shut that offense out the way that they did today, I thought was the impressive thing. And it showed no matter who they're going against, meaning the Oregon Ducks, they got a competent defense that's going to be hard to move the ball against.
Yeah, all we talked about coming in, all you heard was Dante Moore this, Dante Moore that, the passing game, Oregon's offense, but the defense, to your point, really stepped up and said, hey, we can play ball too. And I think that was the biggest key in this ball game because their offense wasn't really firing on all cylinders. It was a defense that kind of saved the game and allowed them more at-bats to go out there and put this team away. Now, granted, they had some opportunities, but they went for it on fourth down. I thought the defense was here. You see, look, a black and white photo, and that was like legitimately probably taken with some camera that weighed like 1,000 pounds. So,
probably.
Exactly. So I like the fact
they
that
were the web foots.
Exactly. So, and we only had like 19 states. So you had them go out there and shut that team out. Great job by Oregon's defense today.
Yeah, you're going to hear a lot about the true freshman, Brandon Finney Jr.
Phenomenal
This kid
talent.
is absolutely incredible for Oregon, and he made an impact against Indiana in their first matchup. More on that in a moment. Indiana takes care of business, defeating Alabama 38-3. I mean, they beat it by 35 here. The long layoff for the Hoosiers wasn't a problem. What stood out to you about this Indiana victory when you see the Heisman Trophy winner Fernando Mendoza just spreading the football around the yard?
You know, with the fact that they had more rushing yards than Alabama had total yards, 215 to 193, yeah. I thought was insane. And then, you know, the way that they controlled the line of scrimmage, when we look at Indiana's offensive line, they're one of the better ones in the country. And I know they don't get a lot of credit, and people, you know, always dismiss the big uglies, but this was a dominant performance on both sides of the ball. But you have to give credit to the way that they protected Fernando Mendoza and the running lanes that they opened up for Kaylon Black and Roman Hemby.
And how about Indiana's defensive line in this game as well against Alabama? I mean, held Alabama to 1.4 yards per rush on the ground, had 6 tackles for loss, 3 sacks in this game. Ty Simpson was spinning around, and his head was on I don't know what, he couldn't even know where he was out there against this Indiana D-line and front seven, constantly getting pressure. And the Indiana secondary was able to play man coverage, which allowed them to pressure the quarterback. It was a really impressive job.
Again, just the discipline that they have. They're a great open field tackling team. The running backs, we had this issue last night watching Ohio State, the running backs for Indiana, finishing runs, falling forward, just getting the extra yards, and just everything that they did against Alabama was imposing their will on Alabama, no matter how small it was, whether it was making sure you tackle these guys right where they stand, make sure you are playing with eye discipline in the run game, make sure you are able to make a play that's there to be made. I mean, even the play against Ty Simpson, that was a timely hit that forced that football to come out, and they were Johnny on the spot. 3 Indiana Hoosiers right there to jump on that football. So they do a lot of things really well. They're easily the well-coached team, most well-coached team in the country.
Absolutely. Oregon and Indiana will meet for the second time this season. The Hoosiers beat the Ducks in Eugene in October. Turning point in the game was in the fourth quarter. Oregon true freshman Brandon Finney Jr., who I mentioned, picked off Fernando Mendoza, returned it 35 yards for a touchdown to tie the game. Very next Indiana possession, Mendoza leads the Hoosiers down the field, tossed what proved to be the game-winning touchdown to Elijah Surratt. It was at that moment there where you're going, okay, this guy's going to win the Heisman, because he makes a mistake and then comes back and throws what would be the game-winning touchdown in that one. Now, next week, next Friday, playing for a spot in the national championship. Both schools are playing for their first title in school history. They're both trying to win their first title in school history. Indiana is the favorite to win it all, plus 145. Oregon, third shortest odds at plus 400. Look, this matchup is going to be incredible. We always talk about it, right? Tough to beat a team 2 times in the same season. But I don't know how you're going to go, how you're going to make a pick here. We'll get your pick in a second, but now when you see these teams for a second time, what are you watching for, Ducks and Hoosiers?
Look, I mean, we just watched Indiana go out and look better than they have all season. They're hitting on all cylinders. So when I look at them as a football team, I'm looking at a team that's constantly improving. And when we look at the way Oregon played, yes, they look great on the defensive side. But like you mentioned earlier, they're often stalled multiple times in the red zone on the 4th down. So they got some areas of improvement. If I'm a guy and I'm looking like I got to play this Indiana team, I'm scared. I'm worried because they do everything well. And like we just said with Kirk Cinetti, they're not going to make the mistake to beat themselves.
Yeah, I really think the team that takes care of the football in this game will win. You think about that first matchup. Dante Moore had 2 interceptions. Yep. That was really what turned the game in Indiana.
And those were at the end of the game, so he's forcing the issue, right?
There were balls on the ground. Yep. A fumble situation earlier. So, and then for Mendoza threw the pick as well in that game. So whichever team can take care of the football, which quarterback plays point guard, distributes, and does not turn the football over, will come out with a victory, because there's so much skill on both teams, Indiana and Oregon. The quarterbacks have to take care of the ball.
I'll be looking at the point of attack, because you mentioned that you had 2 turnovers from Oregon in that ball game. There were also 3 out of 14 on 3rd down. And on the flip side, you had 8 TFLs, 6 sacks for Indiana. So they won up front. And if they're winning at the point of attack like they did, Hemby had 70 yards rushing as well. And Mendoza finished with 31 yards rushing, had a 14-yarder as well. So if they're winning at the point of attack, there's nothing that they can do Oregon-wise that can beat Indiana. So how they win up front in this particular matchup will determine if they win the game.
All right, in the first meeting, Indiana was a 7-point road dog. They won the game 30 to 20. This time, Indiana's a 4.5-point favorite in the Peach Bowl in Atlanta. Adam, who you got here?
I don't know how you can watch Indiana beat Alabama like that and not take Indiana to win this game as well. I'm picking the Hoosiers. Fernando Mendoza is the best quarterback in the country, and Kirk Cinetti's the best head coach in the country. Give me Indiana.
I got to piggyback right there and go with Indiana. You know, watching them go out and be so dominant, you know, on the biggest of stages and continuing to get better week after week. Their offensive and defensive lines are just insane. Who's going to win this game?
Yeah, I'm with you all. I'm taking Indiana.
Oh, wow.
And here's the thing. We saw them beat Oregon in the rain, and we saw them beat Alabama in a muddy field out there at the Rose Bowl, sloppy field. They get to play indoors. We might see the cleanest game we've seen since the Big Ten championship game for Indiana. So I like them to go out there and get the job done and beat Oregon.
And in that first game, the game wasn't as close as the score indicated.
Right.
Because that was a choreographed pick six that is uncharacteristic of what Fernando Mendoza does. So if that doesn't happen, we're talking about a score that's 30-7.
So do I have to pick Indiana now?
Yeah.
Because or we have to all be in agreement? Look, I don't want to pick against Oregon because, like, Oregon's really good and Indiana's really good. And, man, I'm going to have to make a pick here on the spot. We're going to go clean sweep. Mm-hmm. Who's your daddy? Who's your daddy? Indiana. I think, look, honestly, I think this winner of this game will win the national championship. That, like, if it's Oregon or it's Indiana, the winner of this game wins the Natty. We will have a first-time national championship. That's my more of a bold prediction. The winner of this game wins the national championship.
The way Indiana plays, I almost imagine they have no mistakes at practice. Like, nothing they do is bad. It's crazy to see a team go out there and execute flawlessly.
And they play with a chip on their shoulder. Look, last year they got a taste of what it was like to be a team that was nationally relevant.
Yep.
This year, they don't want that taste. They want that whole pie. They want it all.
Right.
Both schools chasing their first title in program history. They'll play for a spot in the Natty next Friday in the Peach Bowl. Get this, Indiana and Oregon will meet in the CFP semis after winning by a combined 61-3 in the quarterfinals. What will this game look like? Will we get 50 points again? Will it be a defensive battle? Will we have a high-scoring affair? We're going to find out next Friday in the Peach Bowl in Atlanta, Indiana and Oregon in a rematch from the regular season. Coming up, we turn our attention back to the Sugar Bowl. Should you bet on Georgia to cover the spread against Ole Miss as they rematch here for the second time this season? That's next on CBS Sports HQ, presented by FanDuel.
This isn't just combat. It's cinema.
Ready or not, here I come. Let's go! Are you not entertained?
The new home of UFC, Paramount Plus.
In the Champions League, every picture tells a story, and every great story
Would you believe this?
needs an audience.
It's a really special moment.
The UEFA Champions League, every goal, every game, live on Paramount Plus.
Montana throwing in the end zone. Oh, caught it! Intercepted. Polamalu takes it home. Denver's going to win it on the first play of overtime. For the win! He caught it!
For decades, CBS Sports has brought you iconic moments that define the NFL postseason. Count on us when the next great one unfolds. The NFL playoffs on CBS and streaming on Paramount Plus.
My name is Jeffrey Manchester. I robbed 45 McDonald's.
Good morning, team.
And I've been living in a toy store for 6 months.
Authorities everywhere are on the hunt for the roof man.
But that wasn't even the crazy part.
I would like to introduce you to someone. Would you go out with me?
I would very much like to go out on a date with you.
You're not good at being a criminal.
Whatever you do, you can quit right now.
Oops. What exactly is your plan?
So what's the play?
The biggest and wildest mission yet comes home.
I like the sound of that.
It's nerve-shredding, heart-pounding, and delivers on every level. Tom Cruise.
I need you to trust me. One last time.
Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. Now streaming on Paramount Plus.
We're partners, barely a month. Look how well we're doing. No, we're not partners. I already told you that. Oh, you're playing with the devil's money.
What do I do now?
He's gonna blow! Yours is a business that needs money to grow.
Being rich isn't my dream. It's yours.
Who's the gangster now? It's like I'm looking into a mirror.
Landman, new season, now streaming, only on Paramount Plus.
This is European soccer's biggest stage.
Written in the stars! What a difference she has made!
The question is, can you handle it?
Can you handle it?
The crowd here feels electric. Stream every match of the UEFA Women's Champions League on Paramount Plus.
You can't count on Derek's tongue skills.
Oh, Tony, I think it hit the ground.
But you can always count on Sundays with the NFL on CBS and Paramount Plus.
This isn't just combat. It's cinema. Every strike is a frame. Every rivalry, a story. This canvas is more than a stage.
Are you not entertained?
It's where stories live, where worlds collide, where legends are made. It's on, the new home of UFC, Paramount Plus.
Warden, take care of my brother Kyle, and I'll take care of you.
This is my castle now.
You're about to have a plague of outsiders descend on your town.
What you expect in return?
partnership.
Let me tell you this. There's going to be consequences.
Mayor of Kingstown. All episodes now streaming on Paramount Plus.
Back here on CBS Sports HQ, presented by FanDuel. Last matchup between Georgia and Ole Miss was a high-scoring affair. Dogs scored on all 8 of their drives. Rebels scored a touchdown on their first 5 drives. Ole Miss quarterback Trinidad Chambliss had 305 total yards, 3 total touchdowns. Georgia quarterback Gunnar Stockton had 348 total yards, 5 total touchdowns in the victory in mid-October. Time now for Who Has the Edge. Back here with Emory Hunt, Beanie Wells, Adam Brenneman. Start with the quarterbacks. Adam, who has the edge?
I'm taking Ole Miss. I think Trinidad Chambliss has the edge against Gunnar Stockton. Chambliss now has 6 additional starts under his belt since that first game in October. That's maturity, it's confidence, and the way he can create gives him the edge in this one.
Yeah, I got to go Georgia. You know, when you talk about Gunnar Stockton, obviously his ability to have been there before, been in those big moments, I think nothing triumphs experience. But then when he plays in big games, he is a dual-threat guy, leaning on his legs to extend drives. I like Gunnar Stockton giving the edge at quarterback.
Don't jump me, guys. I got to play both sides. I'm going to say push. I think
Come on.
both
You're going to be Switzerland?
Yeah, I just hope everybody goes up there and have fun. I like both quarterbacks. They both the same. They both play the same. They both gamers. Give me both quarterbacks in this matchup.
You know what? It's because he said push. I'll break the tie here. It's Gunnar Stockton has the edge. All right, let's focus on the pass catchers. Georgia is led by wide receiver Zachariah Branch. Ole Miss has a stable of receivers with at least 500 yards, led by Harrison Walls III. Adam, the edge to the Rebels here.
Yeah, I'm going with Ole Miss. Just the way those receivers can play down the field. You got Wallace, Wright, the tight end, Stribling. I mean, the guy, wherever the ball is, he's like an octopus, can catch it, gets his hands on it.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm piggybacking, but I got to go Ole Miss here. I mean, Harrison Wallace, Deuce Alexander. I mean, a couple of these guys that they have are #1 receivers on any other team in the country. They just happen to be, all shuffled in one receiver room there at Ole Miss. They got dominant performers.
And they always seem to have that, so I'll definitely go with Ole Miss as well. A lot of the receivers are over there with the Rebels.
I'm glad you picked someone. That's
Ole Miss across the board there. 2 running backs here on set. Georgia and Ole Miss, both top 3 in rushing in the SEC. Kejuan Lacey's the lead back for the Rebels. Dogs have a 2-headed monster. Nate Frazier, Chauncey Bowens, both quarterbacks are +1 in the run game. Beanie, who has the edge?
I got to go Ole Miss. You talk about Kejuan Lacey. He's been so dominant for this football team, but we're talking about run game, not just running backs. You got to talk about Trinidad Chambliss, over 500 yards rushing as well. That combination will be deadly tonight.
Push. I like both backfields. I like both. I can't pick one. I like both. So, Adam, help me out.
Yeah, I'm taking Georgia. I mean, Georgia ran for 220 yards in that first matchup. The way Gunnar Stockton can run the football as well, it was close, especially with Lacey actually playing in this game. He was banged up a little bit, but I think Georgia has the edge.
All right, now let's get a game pick here. Georgia was a 7-point favorite in their first meeting, won by 8 and covered. Tonight, Georgia, 6.5-point favorite. Emory, did the Dogs cover again here in the Sugar Bowl?
I like the Dogs here. Let me lay the 6.5 points with Georgia.
Same. I got to go with the Dogs. I mean, nothing triumphs experience, and they got the experienced players, experienced coach. They've been in these moments before.
Man, you want to put Lane Kiffin in the fetal position? You go beat Georgia in this game, the team he couldn't beat earlier in the season, without Lane Kiffin, and do it in Louisiana, where he's now a head coach at LSU. I think emotion and passion wins in this one. I got Ole Miss.
Oh, wow. Okay. There we go. I like that. I like a little emotion. All right. Give us your parlay pick. Time now for the FanDuel parlay pick. Emory, what'd you put together for us?
A quick 3-legger. Chambliss going under 252.5 yards passing. Dillon Bell, the receiver, over 26.5 yards receiving. And I also like the game total to go under. I even threw in a Gunnar Stockton anytime touchdown. Look at that. Plus,
ooh, those are nice odds.
Exactly. So lay the $25 down, win $300, survive and recover from what you did last night on New Year's Eve.
All right. Well, hey, if you're already watching every college football playoff game, why not boost it? Every game day, FanDuel gives you a profit boost to use on the action you're glued to. Download the app today and boost your winnings with FanDuel. Moments away from kickoff in Louisiana, in the Big Easy. Following every college football playoff game, we will have full post-game coverage right here on CBS Sports HQ. For Emory Hunt, Beanie Wells, Adam Brenneman, our entire crew, I'm Hakeem Dermish. Thanks for watching. Enjoy the game. We'll see you post-game right here on CBS Sports HQ.
Stay off the ground in New Orleans in the French Quarter. Take my advice, guys. You don't want to touch the ground.
This isn't just combat. It's cinema.
Are you not entertained?
the new home of UFC, Paramount Plus.
In the Champions League, every picture tells a story, and every great story
Oh, would you believe this?
needs an audience.
It's a really special moment.